Didn't come up.
Hello and welcome to tonight's De Jure Assembly workshop. Tonight's workshop is on our preliminary budgets. We will have two presentations for two different approaches. The first presentation is by the Texas De Jure Assembly. They are going to tell us their approach. And I will now turn the floor over to you, Tim.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll go to share screen. Okay, bring this over. Okay, so we started off by asking the membership and the officers and the department heads, you know, what do we want to accomplish when we put this budget together? And so we kind of threw this list of questions together. I'm just going to highlight some of the things. There is a typo here. This is supposed to say, you know, why do we want to do this, right? What's the benefit to Texas and the population? So we need to determine which programs need to be in the budget so we can engage with the population the soonest to establish county assemblies and committees and so on. I start off by saying what programs have the least resistance to opposition and which ones will have the most resistance. So I've identified here ones we think could have the most resistance: CPS and their funders, operators and customers, the medical profession and big pharma, schools and teacher unions, corporate farmers and their GMO seed and Roundup makers, so-called representatives, politicians and their puppet masters, prepackaged food industry and their corporate masters, transportation and their big oil masters, electrical energy and their monopoly power companies and PUC masters. Those all have money and strength. Now this goes back, you know, a ways now, and we know a lot's happened with the life force. So, but this is what we looked at. Then what would have the least resistance? Well, clean water's one agency dominates that, EPA. Clean air, we've got the Air Force with chemtrails and the Pentagon masters. We have BLM on the land side. And so what do they have in common? They all have a single entity agency to deal with. And so we can probably deal with that a lot more efficiently than some of these others. So will these masters let us do the will of the population, or will they block us or even harm us? So how much preparation work will it take? And so on. So that was just kind of a primer that we gave. And then from that, I asked the council members and I asked the department heads to think about your organization and what kind of people do you need in your organization, and you know, get back to me with you know, the people and how many people you need and so on. So that's how we kind of got that started. So then we came back and got some, you know, we had some good dialogue on that, but not complete. Okay, so then I worked on, since I'm in projects, I worked on how can we get the project people in touch with all the population in Texas that has projects. So let me see if I can shrink this down a little bit. So I looked at the map, and I started seeing, you know, that we can put in regional offices, which are in red. We're putting our headquarters assembly office in Houston at this time. And then smaller cities can get satellite offices. So we ended up with one headquarters here in Houston. We ended up with, well, let me go to the next slide. Then we had one headquarters. We ended up with 8 regions, which are good sized towns and cities in Texas, and 12 satellite offices. And so we looked at that from a staffing perspective for not only projects, but also what functions need to go into regions and also into the satellites, which later will become, you know, more heavily staffed offices over time. So that kind of gave us a nucleus on how many people we're going to potentially need in order to do this. But the first deployment into these will probably be project people, because that's where we want to get, you know, because we have to meet face to face with a lot of these people that want to put a project in. A lot of them need a lot of help and hand holding. And we've got a lot of tools in our project arsenal to help them do that. But it does take a lot of calls and sometimes some face-to-face. So I looked at the map
And Texas is huge. Yeah.
yeah, Texas
You
is
have to
huge.
cover the whole state. Yep.
Right. So every one of these, every project person who wants to go out and maybe do an audit or meet with a prospective project person, I set this up so nobody has to drive more than 200 miles to get to a prospective project customer or review a project, except for right down here in this area. If you can see my mouse down here. So that's that, but there's hardly anybody that lives in this area. So everything else can be a 1-day trip, 200 miles over, 2 hours to meet, 200 miles back. That's like 6 hours, that kind of a thing. So that's kind of how we structured it and ended up with these locations. Okay. And then from that, we were able to build our organization.
So we just took it in sections.
Yeah,
just broke it up.
So then we worked with the different departments on what their organization should look like. So we have our coordinator, our secretary, historian, treasurer, and so on, the same as you all have. And when I was looking at the coordinator, which is Megan, who's here on the call with us, we had quite a few things that were maybe going to be tucked under her for her responsibility. And we kind of felt that that was going to be too much of a day-to-day drag on her setting of the agenda, the strategy, coming up with determining what are the major missions that we need to tackle first versus later. So we kind of pulled a lot of things out from under her and put them under the other groups. Okay, so she is basically, really leading the whole thing. So this is an org chart. It doesn't really appear, but basically it's in Excel, so I just have it tiered. So the coordinator has the co-coordinator directly reporting to her. That's her only direct report, okay, as from a major position. Then she has her assistant. She has her legal notices head, who will work on the legal notices with the legal team. And then we'll have the field legal secretaries out in the regions, the 8 regions. So 2 in the headquarters and 8 in the regions. The co-coordinator has an assistant, has a needs assessment head, so we can work needs assessment. Then we have assessor leads that go out and work the field, pulling in the requirements of the population throughout the state, and then field assessors as well. So leads and assessors put the plans together and bring them up. Then we have the committee heads, the committee chairs. They're in here, but we didn't put any staff under that at this point. Again, this goes back, into May, early May timeframe. So that's how it's structured. So we have the secretary's position, the historian is under the secretary, the treasurer. This is an interesting one too, because we have the co-treasurer then has an accountant head and an auditing head, and they need to be two different positions. And so we got all the respective jobs there. Human resources we put under the treasurer. Our treasurer wanted human resources, has worked that before. You can put that elsewhere. And then, of course, training typically goes with human resources, and purchasing, which is definitely, a lot of money involved, and under treasury. Then we built an operations group. We didn't really have that in our initial staffing for the assembly. And we wanted to put all that stuff in there that just keeps everything greased and running inside the assembly. Okay. So we got IT, logistics, facilities, motor pool, that kind of stuff. Sergeant of Arms. One of the big things here is security. So they need to have security specialists for staff and things and places, secure the facilities. The receptionist will report to the secretary, but also to the security. Internal operations, so we'll have onboarding of all the staff that come in, and then heads of facility security. Since we're going to have basically 9 buildings to start, and then we'll add more rental facilities as we add more staff in the satellite offices. Head of employee security, and then transportation security. So we have vehicles that will have security people driving the vehicles for the staff. And again, there's more there than vehicles, obviously, because we have several. It could happen any time of the day, kind of a thing. And then we have what are called noticing officers. These are the ones that will actually go out and deliver the notices. So say it's a school nurse who's trying to vaccinate the kids, right? Well, here's a notice for that nurse, right? And for the principal and up and on up. That's just an example. So we have 20 noticing officers. That's one spread out. Those are spread out through the state. Liaison with GIA for notices. and liaison to law enforcement as well. Okay, so they would be able to communicate with them what's going on and where we need assistance and help and so on. Public relations, I'm sure you already know. Projects, this is my area, and this is where we're driving a lot of headcount. Okay, so we have a co-projects manager, myself. We have a projects manager lead. He'll run the field operations heads, which are in each of the 9 locations. They'll have an assistant. They have 20 field operators to start. There'll be one in the 8 regions and in the 12 satellites. Consulting head. These are people so the segment specialist. So let's say it's a retail operation or just a wholesale retail or supplier type warehouse function. We'll have a segment guy who knows that business really well, and he can help people that are starting a project or expanding a business that's simply buying something from one side and selling it to another. We have other people, say, on the technology side, right? And other people in farming and things that are related with food, okay? Or water or whatever it is. We'll have segment specialists here. We identified 4. I can't remember exactly what they are right now, but we have those. Then we have the 20 field consultants that'll work directly with the project owners. And then we have auditing and the field auditors. There's 20 of those as well to go, 1 for each one. So we're doing a minimal staffing to start. And as we get hot spots where we need more people, we'll add more people. So, and then we also need to liaison the projects up through LifeForce GIA, where everything gets the final approval and the funding comes down to Treasury so we can fund the projects. Okay. And I think we'll have a Q&A at some point, will we not, Christy?
Yes, we will.
Okay, so the central headquarters, 169 people, 72 in the regions and 48 in the satellites. So that's 169 for that one building there. We have a building identified and we have a project in to buy the buildings. That's a small set of 3 buildings, 5-story, pretty nice. And then we have 9 in each of the regionals to start and up to 4 in the satellites to start. And if we don't have them staffed right away, we'll just have them work out of their house, and those will probably be like a county seat where you've got your courthouse building and then your square around that, and there might be space there, and we have a nice sign, Texas Assembly, and there's project people in there, and there's people in there to help build the county assembly and take the needs from the population, get the grievances, all those kinds of things can start to take place there. So we started with the people, or the plan and the people, and worked everything from there. So this was a way that I was able to then start building the costs of all this. Okay. All right, and we'll go back on questions at some point. Okay, so then that led into the actual budget itself. I'm bringing up the live spreadsheet of the budget. And now you see this is basically the head count where the staffing goes. And then what I did, I came up with 5 different levels of PCs and 3 different levels of cell phones. So I took like here's Megan here. So she gets a high-end PC and a high-end cell phone because she could be out in the field, need to take videos, need to take good pictures, things like that. So she gets a higher-end phone. Her assistant gets a lower-end phone, right, and a slightly lower-end PC, that kind of a thing. And the big difference is usually how many displays and stuff like that. So that's how I was able to roll up all the PC and phone stuff very easily. Okay, and then. So then we have the salaries were determined on our first budget, which was a temporary budget that we did in case funding was coming sooner than later. And these, you'll see here where we've got 2 people, that's 200,000, that's 100,000 per person on this one. We basically ended up with 3 levels of salary, a 125 for like a lead job, a 120 for an assistant, and 100 for a regular assistant. And then we've got some that are even a little bit lower than that, but we kept them in that range. And that was approved by the membership on the first preliminary budget, which was really taking care of all our initial staff and some of the major open positions that we needed to fill as soon as possible. We then set that aside, did this org chart and the state plan, outreach plan and locations.
You
And
want to hear this? He's talking like spreadsheets and stuff.
and then so where I've got two people, you know, this is as you can see, it's 100,000 times R11, which is the number 2 right here. So 2 times 100 equals that number. That's just a simple formula, but this thing's full of formulas and it's quite automated. So so we built the org chart, we built the people, we added the salaries in, and then we just divided by 12 to get the monthly, so we can see that. We also have another column called one-time expenses that are done. So they happen once, and then these are the reoccurring expenses here. Okay, so great. Hopefully that's good. Now, we know that some of these salaries are going to be way too low. We know that to bring in some professional people, like some retired lawyers are no longer in the Bar Association, retired accountants or other accountants, other people that are really high quality, they're going to come in at higher numbers. So my point is, let's say we got a position, we got it in at 120 and we're going to have to pay him, say, 240. Well, what that means is this is an annual budget, okay? So that means if we pay them more, it's only a budget for 6 months. And as we go through and update our plan and we go for additional tranches from the global repository, right? Then our accounting people more accounting people we get on board, then they'll be able to just recalculate the whole budget. So we know that these numbers are going to be updated, but they're going to be updated through a process of where we check the market, probably give them an uplift on that. And then also we'll be checking against the salaries of the state of Texas people. We have access to every position and all the salaries. We even have a lot of names associated with those people, and we can coordinate this function in our assembly versus that function in their world, and see what the exact salaries are. So we have that data, but it's a huge project to try to go through that. So each of these leaders has been asked to go in and start defining the roles and responsibilities of these positions here under each of them, and go to the state of Texas and find the equivalent, because there's a lot of data there. And also you can go to LinkedIn and other places and pull in job descriptions, right? Once we get an HR department and we're going to have onboarded recruiters and outside recruiters, right? They'll help us get the job descriptions done and help us find the right people. So even though these are kind of on the low side, they were the first thing approved by the membership. We decided to not have the membership reapprove new salaries at this time. Somebody maybe needs to go on mute. So that's how that came together. Now, so we subtotaled all the salaries. It comes up to 26.9 million. Okay. Then we put in some logic over here on this side of we're going to have some recruiting. So some people are going to have 5% recruiting fee, maybe 40% of the new hires. So if you change these percentages, it changes the data. Okay. We figured $3,500 for the background checks that we're going to need to do. That'll be for 100% of the new hires. If we have to relocate somebody, we just put a low budget of $12,000 in for maybe 20% of the people. Again, you can change these and it'll reflect it in the budget. Okay. Overhead, which includes your federal taxes, your FICA, your Social Security, your unemployment, and all your benefits, right? Your benefit package. We put 30% in for that. I know things are changing with the IRS, and I know there's plans, on the medical insurance side as well to streamline. But we went with what's out there in the market. All right, so let's go back. This is now how we finished up the onboarding right here. So this was that total of the salaries, and then we've got recruiter fees, background checks, and relocation here. Then we've got the medical, Texas Workforce, FUTA, FICA, all that based upon this percentage here. And then it totals up total employee expense 39.3 million. That's 37.3 million, sorry. Then we went to facilities. So we have our facility plan, which was, based upon the map and where we placed people. Using one of those buildings that we're also have into for funding to buy. We estimate we need about 2.5 floors out of one building to start. Okay, that'll be we need 160 to start, but 2.5 will get us half the building. We get us about 262 people. If we take a whole building, we'll get 500 in there. We put in a good rental rate, and then we also put in the 5 satellite offices as well. And that gave us this number here. Everything you see in yellow is pointed to from a cell over in this area, over here. Hope that's understandable, okay? Then we get to, here's that 18, $1,899,000. That came directly from right here. And again, you change these numbers and yours will update, okay? If you want to use this template. Utilities, we calculated those things. A lot of this is, I think, you're going to see this in Christie's budget as well. Employee assistance, computers, cell phones, those were calculated from the other section. And actually, I can show you that phase 1 equipment spreadsheet. Let me zoom it up. So we have the PC setups. We have 5 levels, what they cost with tax and support. And then this is the number of people. This is fed over from the headcount plan. And then here's the total dollars. And then this 833 went right in the budget. Okay. Cell phones, same thing. Then we have a 4K video editing suite here. Then we have different equipment for them, and that includes the software. And then we got some drones so we can go out and film things. Okay. Which can be used for projects, needs assessment, before and after type things, and so on, okay, to support the assembly. Hope this isn't too much detail, but I wanted to get a feel for what's in here. So here's the full media suite here that comes in. We also put some vehicles in here. We put $500,000 in for enterprise data center. We'll probably locate that within one of the buildings, or we may be able to get, some secure space someplace else, but I'm a little worried about putting a data center in a regular data center, because even though we can put cameras on it, who knows what kind of access will happen on the, access to the lines, entering and leaving our cage at the data center. Office furniture is calculated, software, printers, scanners. You'll see printer and scanners over here. 91 of these multifunction printers. We don't need the big, huge ones since we're going to be somewhat mobile. The shredders. We need firewalls for all those, for all the devices for everybody's home, because they're going to, everyone's going to have a notebook, so they'll take their notebooks home, so they need to be behind a firewall. Then we're going to have travel. We figured 40 flights, average cost per flight, average number of days, what the rental car average amount is, and so on, hotels and so on. And we came up with a budget for that. Then we have Zoom meeting expenses, advertising, ad placements, and then we have professional services. So liability and business insurance, we really don't know what that's going to be. I just kind of winged it at that number there. I don't know, but we'll see. And then consultants, specialized consultants, especially on some of the technical things, social topics, bring them in, outside CPA and auditor to audit our books, the payroll service and bank charges. So we get our total operating expenses here. We add it all up. We're 46.7. We have the 2% funding fee back to LifeForce here. And there's our total, 47,644. 47,644. That's the budget.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
I'll leave this open. So then this is what the budget looks like when it's all done and it went to LifeForce core team. So we expect to be here that we have been approved on this. Well, I think it's already approved. I'm not sure. But this is what it looks like. 254 counties. It's passed by the membership. Okay. It was back in early May. So, we made it for a whole year. But if we start it July 1st, then it'll be from July to May or July to June. And this is what it looks like. And they can see our org chart here. And the whole thing rolls up and it's done with all the expenses and everything. And there's the total. So that's what the final output looked like. Okay, nice and pretty, and in a fairly good accounting format. And that ends my presentation.
Thank you, Tim.
Don't be surprised if people call you up wanting to hire you.
I know, right?
Well, I guess
We're not going to lose Tim.
Well, unfortunately for most of you, I do have 2 big projects that are hot on the list for funding. So they're infrastructure projects. So we're trying to staff the project team as quickly as we can, because some of us may not be able to be around full time. So, all right. Do we want to
That's
do
great.
do you want to do a
That's very
Q&A on this
extensive.
now, or you want to do your presentation, then come back to Q&A? What would you like to do, Christy?
I would, I would like to do
Very
my
good.
presentation, and then we can do an
You
overall
got it.
Q&A. I know, Megan said that you had to,
Well,
exit early.
I was, that's
or-
only opportunistic. I don't have to. Okay, so I will wait. Not a problem. Okay?
We do not want to keep you from
Yeah,
your
yeah.
family.
They're doing Father's Day early.
So
That is so sweet.
feel free.
Okay,
Yeah, feel
so
free.
there you go.
Okay.
I've given the
So-
screen back, I believe. So there you are. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Tim.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
Yeah,
That was
hopefully we'll
great.
have some good,
Thank you.
good questions and discussions later. All right? But I'm definitely hanging around.
And you can share that
Great.
template
Okay.
with us.
Yes, I'd have to clean it up a little bit, take out some things that are in it. But yeah,
Yeah.
if that's what you want, I would gladly do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm calling from Canada. We're up here in Alberta.
Oh, yeah,
so
sure,
we,
sure.
we will be changing lots of numbers.
Yeah, I think accounting formats and principles are pretty uniform between the two, so it should work for you, okay? And
Thank you very
and if
much.
the core team, if the core team seems to like it, then that'd be nice, right? That it all comes in kind of uniform, okay?
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. I
Yes,
yield.
Tim.
Yes,
Thank you, Tim.
you're welcome.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Tim.
He's great.
All right. So I have a little screen share here. And can everyone see my screen? It says Self-Regulating Advisory Board and how
Yes.
they work. Okay. So Florida took a little bit of a different approach because we know that our budgets, when we went to look for our budget, we just couldn't, we knew that they weren't correct. We knew that that wasn't the full budget. So instead of trying to figure out where the correct budget was or figure out their mess, we decided to restructure and set up employees and give those employees a salary. And that's where we started. In the interim, we decided to set up what is called a self-regulating advisory board. So I'll show you how we did that. And then I'll show you how we formulated our budget. Okay, so in our current state, we have a hierarchy top-down system where one person, such as the Surgeon General, may have the overall say in this, the state residents' health, making the decisions for all. It is vital to understand the current system in order to create a new structure. So we had to go through each section, and we did a basic Google search or a basic internet search, and we typed in state of Florida government diagram. You could probably do that with any of your states and just look for this diagram. It shows you the executive branch all the way down. So we'll run through just one of those branches. And we took the Department of Health. In the Department of Health, you have at the top here is the Surgeon General. And we know that he's not a surgeon or a general. So we're eliminating this whole top tier. Now, all of these sectors below will have to remain in some capacity. They may get moved around or eliminated or combined. It just depends, and it will be the decision of the advisory boards. So we're eliminating this guy, right? This one person. And we just state that one person should not be in charge of all departments, forcing one decision on you with one narrative. So we took a look at all of our 9 core committees. And we decided to put auditors and researchers on every committee. So the auditors are to gather research from many sectors of the state and from the state residents. They will send their findings to the advisory board. The advisory board is made up of a diverse team regarding that specific committee. They are required to review the research and post multiple viewpoints and create multiple solutions for the state residents to choose from, properly informing the public. In our advisory board, we have 2 Native American natural medicine residents from our state. We have 7 different alternative medicine advisors. We have 2 big pharma or traditional medicine advisors because we feel that some people will have to remain on big pharma medication or synthetic medication, and they may also choose to do so. Then we have a research and development person, and we also have someone from the youth section. So what these advisors and this advisory board does is replace this Surgeon General. So we're actually creating quite a few jobs. And then we were trying to figure out all of these other departments below and how they would operate and work. We want to put this team together to do so. And we figure if they are working together, then they will always come up with a multiple solutions to give back to the people. So the auditors will send their information to the advisory board, and the advisory board will offer multiple solutions and choices to the people. And that's really the way that works. We thought it was kind of a little simplified, but we then built a budget around these new employees. So we have our officers. Can everyone see our screen with our budget?
Yes.
And we
Yes.
got this original template from Texas. Thank you, Texas, for helping us out here. So we have just our basic officers, and in our officer's name, these could be considered an advisory board. And we just went down the research and development, international relations. We have an IT department, and we have people, full staff. Then we have our own production department. This section I have to fill in because I just got this information 2 days ago. We have a little bit of medical coverage in case we need that. I know that it might be offered for free for the first year or two, but in case there may be some need for some medical coverage there. Liability insurance, mobile offices. We have utilities for some satellite offices. Computers, servers, printers, scanners, we want to use all new computers, and we hope that anything that comes out of the old system can be refurbished and given back to the public or to some school systems. Supplies for the offices. If we're going to purchase any type of furniture, we do not want to purchase new furniture. If we have a satellite office in that community, we want to make sure that we're purchasing furniture directly from that community, which may most likely be secondhand stores or resell furniture directly in that local community. Then we just have basic printing supplies, postage, other travel expenses, meeting expenses, and we also added in some team building. I know we're coming into a new system, and it might be a good idea to have some team building exercises in there as we all learn to work together. Then we've researched and done a bulk mailing program and other promotional items to let the public know that we're here and what the new system is going to look like and all the great options and choices that they will have. Then we go into our committee expenses. And this is where you see those advisory boards. So in our legal system, in our law and legal system, what we want to do here is build a team of law researchers, our own defense, Florida Defense and Disaster Team, auditors, non-bar attorneys, and each committee will be staffed with their own human resources department so that we can get up and running quite quickly within the first year. And then they're all staffed with the same set of secretaries, administrators, and bookkeepers, and couriers and runners. And what their job is to do is to set up the new judicial branch. It was mentioned to me today on the international call that their Supreme Court or their higher level of people would be like elders, would they were going to call it Hall of Wisdom or Knowledge. So I told them I like that name and I was going to add it to ours. And they're also going to be setting up our new mediation system. Then in our other committees, health and wellness and all the others, this is an advisory board of 11. They will write campaigns to educate the public on pure health and non-big pharma healthcare. They'll write options and parameters for the new healthcare system and all the other committees as well. They'll write re-education for current nurses, medical doctors, etc., and should also include medical healthcare. Builds the budget to build new healthcare system. Parameters and guidelines must include multiple viewpoints, opposing viewpoints, and they must create multiple options for residents to choose from to properly inform the public. So then you see this healthcare advisory board. My screen keeps popping up. So then these are our 11 healthcare advisors. They get a stipend. They probably will have another job or a regular day job, but they will once a month or whenever they're called in, maybe bi-weekly for a while, they will get a stipend just to advise and review the research that the auditors have come up with. So we staff each county with 2 boots on the ground auditors and 6 or 1 auditor each for each county. And then there's some overflow here. They can switch on and off. Maybe we have a county that's too small, doesn't need 2. And then that auditor can swing over into a more densely populated county. And of course, each branch is set up with their own advertising, travel, conference, human resources, etc. And we also added some incentive programs for each committee. So then we did the same thing for environmental, our animals. In our environmental and animals, we are opening up brand new branches of 3 or 4 new branches of sheriff's deputies. So we're also making sure that we are getting a lot more jobs back into our state. We have food advisors for healthcare and food, the needs assessments, treasury, project management, family services, and education. Education was a little different because they did a very extensive research on the entire new public school system. And this is where we are with our basic budget. And this should carry us out to at least the first 2 years. Okay. Any questions? Now, if you'd like, we can open the room up for questions on these 2 types of approaches. Gloria from Arkansas.
Hello, everyone. We're just getting started. We've literally just posted our public notice, so we're about a week old, and we don't even have 27 people yet. I don't expect that we'll have a problem getting 27 people. However, the budgets that you guys are preparing seem like they're really futuristic, and I'm wondering what advice you have for a new assembly.
Well, I would recommend adopting one or the other system because I think they're both quite usable, you know, depending on the population in your state. I think they both could be used very easily. You could just adopt one or the other if you needed to submit a budget, or you could wait until you had more people on your assembly before you make that submission. Tim, do you have a response to that as well?
Yes, this is akin to where we were when we did our first budget. It was, we had just elected everybody, or, had just got the initial staff in. We knew we needed a couple of bodies under each one of those bodies, so we threw a quick one together. And that's another one I could give everybody if they want a small one to get started quicker. And then as you grow, you can always resubmit updates to the core team and get additional funding as you grow. So I would say get a budget sooner than later, because these are paid positions and you'll be able to attract a lot more people when the positions are paid versus what we've been going through to date. Does that
So
help?
yes, we should adapt, but I still have a question, because I'm assuming that when we submit a larger budget and we're not that established, that there will be like checkpoints to check our status. And I'm wondering what happens, like, if in our first year we don't achieve that full budget.
Well, your budget can be amended every year. And, it's very difficult to play the what ifs and happenstance kind of thing. You have to understand that, if, let's say that you do have 5 people on your assembly right now and you got funding, you're probably going to start filling those seats very, very quickly. Very quickly. So I wouldn't cut yourself too short. That was kind of our fear, is if we've set and we've realized some priorities in our state, and we recognize how we can turn that around very quickly, we don't want to cut ourselves short in the first year, because we don't want our programs to fail. We want people to embrace this new style of government or self-government. So I would, if you feel like you need to tune it down a bit, you can go ahead and do that. These are just examples of what we did for our state based on the research and history of what we did in our states.
Thank you.
But first, you must understand your current structure. You must understand you really should try to look into it and see which one best applies to you, if you wanted to use them as a template.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Looks like everyone is either their head is spinning or overwhelmed, or everyone is ready to turn in their budget.
Just a question, Christy. Will you post these on your site, or how do
Yes.
we? Okay, it's on the Florida website, correct?
Oh, no, we haven't posted it there yet or anything, but we will give out. I will give out my Excel spreadsheet, and I can't speak for Texas, but we don't have a problem giving that out. For as an example, there is a preliminary Excel spreadsheet on the Assembly in a Box Telegram thread under the budget post, and we can post it here as well.
Okay.
In the Assembly workshop thread.
I'll PM Tim and send him my email.
Perfect.
And,
That'd be fine. That'd be fine. Yeah.
I'm the Sergeant at Arms for the Alberta Council, so.
Oh, very
I don't know
good.
if anybody else is on
Great.
here from Alberta, but I'm glad I made this meeting. This is really, really good stuff, guys. Both templates are just actually great, because one covers a different size and the other one covers, it's very extensive, which is good. And I really, really like what you've done there. It's great stuff. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so as I said earlier, I will take the Texas one. I'll remove all the Texas specific things and make it more generic. Like I'll remove our logos, our title. I'll make it more generic there. And then, but there's a lot of formulas in there, so you're probably gonna need someone to work it that knows Excel pretty well. Otherwise, if you overwrite a formulas, things aren't gonna work, and you're gonna get frustrated and you're gonna be mad. So, and don't get mad at me.
As long as the formulas are in place, I think most of us know how to work a
Excellent.
spreadsheet.
Good.
So that's
That's
awesome.
great. That's great. And these are really simple formulas. There's nothing heavy in there at all. They're very basic.
Hey, Tim.
Okay, yes.
Tim, can you write your email in the chat?
Chat?
In
Sure,
the
will
Zoom
do.
chat for people?
Yep, I'll do that right now.
And I put a link in the chat here for salaries, just an example for the government salaries. It's Government Salaries Explorer for Texas. And we looked at that and did some research on that. So that website's really neat. You can go to the different sections in your state if they have it, like Texas, and research there. It has a ton of information.
Magdalena, you had a question?
Yeah, I was actually just trying to give a offsite information because we just came out before this meeting from security and IT, and I was hearing a lot of word of the satellite offices, and somebody posted in the chat about the satellites, they are not safe. So I was just kind of trying to give you information. So how you, or ask the question, how you gonna handle the safety of information with the satellite offices?
Okay, so what we mean by satellite office is like regional offices.
Oh,
There'll
okay.
be one in
Right,
North
right.
Florida on the land, not sky, on the land. So we probably will do 4. And there will probably be people that want to work from home. So we, North Florida, South Florida, East Florida, West Florida, Central Florida. Those are not things that we set out to determine the specifics on. As you see that there was no need. There's just no way that we could have found all of the specific data to be true. It just was impossible because the budget is so messed
That
up.
was actually more a question for Texas because Texas is humongous. I mean, it was an incredible information just to see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we were really leading off knowing that if we could set up an office, say in a county seat with a storefront and say, and have it and advertise locally that we are offering to fund projects, new, existing, upgrades, expansions. If you had COVID issues, you want to bring your people back, you want to modernize at the same time, come on in, right? We've got tools, we've got people to talk to you and get funded. And that's going to bring a lot of people in and they're going to want to join the assembly, right? So we thought that was a great way to get, money. I think money's like honey, right? It'll attract them. So that's was kind of our thinking. And then we'll backfill with other capabilities once we're established.
Thank you so much.
We may actually add a couple more offices to our budget before we finish.
Yeah, we were talking about the committees. We want to add those.
Yeah, you've nailed the committees and we didn't get that far yet. So again, we did ours about what, a month and a half, 2 months ago. So yeah.
It's a very extensive and look, Texas and Florida, they did more of the front half and we did more of the back half. And they've spent probably 2 months on theirs and we've spent 2 months on ours. I mean, that's 4 months total with 2 large states working on it. So, and honestly, we probably could combine both of our budgets together to make one budget and share that around. That might not be a bad idea for everyone, especially when we're talking about building a completely new structure. So yeah, well, Tim, I'll be sending you an email as well to get some of your stuff.
And we also,
Yeah.
we also went through the entire state of Texas budget, which has got like 168 departments, and there's over 60 university budgets. So that was a mammoth project, coming up with what we think they should be spending their money on in 2022. We also got that done, and that's also being turned into the core team as well. That was a completely different budget. So
it's a huge eye opener just to see all the information.
Well, and not only that, just to see how they hide the money and how they allocate the money.
Gosh, yes.
It was mind-boggling thinking that there were no wonder we need to assemble. We will be the administrators sitting over that, making sure that these funds are allocated appropriately back to the state and back to the residents. that's really our primary job. We're like the babysitters.
Tim, we ran into a lot of license plate funds. A ton
Yes,
of
yes,
them.
yes. The license plate fund was funding a lot of things throughout the entire Texas budget. It was pretty amazing. It kept showing up. Now, it wasn't very much. It might only be $1,000 or $500, but it was everywhere. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Susan Q, Illinois.
I have a question. How are we going to like check on security for the people that we hire to make sure they're not deep state?
Well, you will have, you should have some of your HR people vetting them, and we are, well, you'll also have access to background checks. Your HR should be doing that. But we're also implementing, you know how when you are a new hire and you have like the 90-day employee trial period. So
Okay,
we want to share, I guess for lack of a better term, with our new employees or rehired employees, the new system. We want to share that information with them. We even might give them an altruism test, like a personality test, but this one will be for, you know, altruism. Some of these things are still being written. We'll just, you know, we'll have to see, but we want to make sure that they understand what is happening, that this is the new system for the people, by the people, and that maybe they're not even aware of who they were really working for. We're not looking to put people out of jobs. We're looking to give people better jobs and better pay. But that's really it. We're going to maybe take them back through some retraining and then see how they fit in afterwards.
so they wouldn't have to necessarily also be a assembly member.
Oh, well, not necessarily, no. We would hope that they would be, but we know that we are going to have to hire some help.
Yes,
That's
yes.
just too much work for
Yeah.
our little assembly to do. We wrote it that way. We wrote it knowing that we will be hiring professionals.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
I'll give you a little bit of scale. The state of Texas, I think, Megan, if you remember the number better than I do, I think it was 160,000 employees in the state of Texas. It's huge. It's huge. And that
Yeah.
can be pared back. So between the Texas Assembly and what they're spending their money on, what we want them to spend their money on, there's a lot of people that could be released over time. And that's why we want the projects there, right? To start soaking up with new opportunities, more entrepreneurs, and so on.
Yeah. Justine, Washington State.
Thanks, you guys. Those are amazing. Those are really wonderful. Was it Tim in Texas?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
I just sent you a private message.
Okay, I'll take a look.
Okay, great. Let's see. I have so many questions. I am wondering what your thought process was, if you don't mind sharing, on taking your building space as your first project, and that makes sense. Did you, well, you're head of the project committee on your assembly as
Yes.
well? Okay.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So that makes sense that would be high on the list. Did you, we're kind of thinking where are most of us kind of clustered right now, as members?
Exactly.
Tend to be around Seattle. Seattle's a fantastic pool for talent. So I'm curious, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, we also have the most of our core team membership for the Texas Assembly is in the Houston area. So we thought that makes a lot of sense. We know that our state capital is in Austin, and we know that, or we suspect that a lot of that real estate's going to become vacant. And so we kind of hold that we may have to relocate the core team up to Austin at some point. And move into some of those buildings as we expand. You know, I don't know how big this is going to get, but it's going to be a lot bigger than it is right now, or what we're forecasting in this current budget. So we were opportunistic, put us close to the people, most of the people now. We do have Zoom, right? And we can travel. There is budget for travel and getting together. And as the regional offices grow, which is in all the other major cities, and there's also one in Houston as well, separate from the headquarters, that there'll be people be able to go in there and still work, you know, on the headquarters staff, even though they're in a regional office.
Okay.
Does that make
wonderful.
sense? Does that make
Yes,
sense?
That
Yeah,
makes
okay.
a lot of sense. I have another question, but I'll yield for now. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So Sophia, go ahead.
The succulent I got. I planted.
Sophia, where'd you go? Sophia, oh, there you go. Hi, Sophia.
Hi, sorry. I'm trying to plan a barbecue, so I stepped away. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Florida. Thank you, Texas Du Jour, for doing this. If this was already answered, I'm sorry, but with California, we have a unique situation in the sense of, you know, over 50% of our population are state employees. And going through the budget, trying to figure out the budget, because I am no accountant. I don't know anything about that, but going through and trying to understand it, a lot of our money, you know, wasteful spending, the prison system, I mean, just sucked up. Our prison system here is just horrible. I don't know if that's the same way in the other states, but
Yes.
what part of your budget or your, what are you calling it under the prison system? How is that going to look like? What are we supposed to do in that area as assemblies?
Well, here's what we did, because again, this is a huge task.
Mhm.
Not 1 or 10 people should be doing it. All of your assembly should be doing these working meetings to go through to understand your budget. We found part of our prison system under the Department of Health, and we said there is really no need for us to explore all of these departments. There are hundreds of them, thousands of them. Our state, just our state electorate body, 318,000 employees. So we said there is no need for us to do a deep dive into this. If we just knock out that upper tier and put in the advisory board, those professionals, they have to go figure out everything below that and set up anew and figure the rest of it out. Now, we don't want them to just make the decision for the rest of the state. We want them to advise us, the people, on
Right.
choices
Mhm.
that we will have
Mhm.
to bring up to say, okay, people, in the Department of Health, we have all these we have 300 departments here, and we can shrink this down to this. Do you want to do that? Yes or no? Do you have a vote? Okay, great. Let's go vote on it. This is how it will look. So we have a whole set of auditors to come in and audit the current system. And then we'll have, you know, those once that's done, they will transition into a new job, maybe a new auditor or a different department someplace. And all that information will be given to the advisors on that committee, and they will come up with some options to give to the people on what it could look like or should look like in the future. And then we'll just go from there. We don't have the answer. There's no way we would even want to look for the answer, because it's just
Right.
so they're all lies. We
Yeah.
don't know what to believe is true. We do know that the money's being misappropriated.
Yeah,
did
we know
find
that. Yeah,
that.
we all do that.
No,
Yes.
that's the only thing that we could honestly verify.
Right. The wasteful spending.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's no need for us to figure it out, because we're not the professionals here. We're going to hire those people and put them in place for them to do the job. And one other thing that we thought, at first we were joking about this, and I think maybe it's not going to be a joke anymore, but instead of everybody coming to jury duty, the people can come to auditing duty, and the people can audit the state.
That's good. That's good.
Well, why not? I mean,
Yeah.
they want to self-govern, so get in here and self-govern. maybe that will be a reality one day. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, it's good.
Christy, we have 10 more
Thank you.
minutes and we are starting our next meeting, so we have to
Yes,
start.
I'm so sorry, guys, but we will have to cut this night short. We do have one more meeting to go to tonight. So let me get Angela. Go ahead, Angela.
Thank you. I'll make this brief. I'm from the Oklahoma Assembly. One of the things I'd like to let you know that, like in our state, there's absolutely no succession planning in the city charters or at the state level, meaning that if we're going to hire somebody new, let's say that they don't get trained for their job, they have to figure it out on their own.
Well, no,
Harder to have somebody overlap and train, and I think that everybody needs to consider that, because I don't know how you should put that into your operation
We're getting
planning.
you're cutting
I mean
out
that with
very
somebody
badly.
lose. Oh,
You're talking
maybe
about
that-
adding training to our budgets.
well, succession planning, meaning that somebody might leave an auditor's position and become an officer, or people might move around, and somebody needs to be able to stay behind to train them on what has happened, so that they don't go walk in blind, because we're all walking in blind at the beginning. It's just something I think that everybody should consider, because it took me 3 years to nail my job down at the city. So
Really? What do you
yes,
think
I
would
didn't.
have helped you? A succession plan?
Well, see, they didn't have it in the charter to where the old employee could train the new employee.
Wow.
And so I walked in
Sheesh.
blind, and I had to figure it out. And then we just got hacked, and now I can't do any work at all. So they're paying me to sit there, which is nice. But I just, working for my local municipality, it's the redundancies are amazing. And I think that should be something you should look into, how the state and your city stuff plans, and you could bring that to the people, because what I understand, to amend a charter in a city, it would have to go to the people, which means that you get a 2-week training period, in succession planning. That way people don't walk into their job blind and clog up the business. And I know we'll do that in the assemblies, but that doesn't mean we can't change what's going on at the municipal level, or at the
Absolutely.
state
Yeah, I
level.
just wrote all
I
that
just
down. I'm
wanted-
going to add that.
Okay, and I want to thank you all so much for this. And please, Tim, put your email in the chat.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere. Okay, Rebecca.
One quick thing I just want to add on that wonderful discussion is also I was trying to think about job descriptions. And I know that right now we can pull down job descriptions at the county level or the state level. And maybe it's something we want to create a national database of job descriptions, if it's helpful.
Well, you know what we did before we even started on our budget? We did a little exercise. So when we first started our budget, we brought everyone into the room, the administrative body that was going to be there. And we did a little window shopping. What do you want? What do you want to see here? And it got a little crazy. But it was fun, right? Everyone's been waiting for this moment. When are we going to get paid, or when is funding coming? So we had a little fun with it. And I said, okay, well, if you feel like this is the salary you want to make, now go write your job description. You go write your job description, start with a blank sheet of paper, write your job description, write how you see your department is going to fit into this assembly, into the state. What are your priorities coming out of your department? What are the projects? What are you going to offer to the people? Because if you think that you're just going to get this paycheck and then go sit behind a desk and push a pencil around, well, you're no better than the people that are already there.
Right,
So how are you going to help the people? So our first exercise was go write your job description. Go tell us what you want to do. How do you foresee yourself operating in this assembly in our state? So maybe that's a good exercise for everyone to start with.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a great idea.
Yep.
And it was fun. It also, there was some creativeness behind that where, they thought, okay, well, this could actually be a project out of my committee or out of the state. And from those things, we saw that we could wow, why isn't our state already doing these things? They should be. And then of course you start to think as a resident, well, they should be cleaning up the environment. How much money goes into the environment cleanup? I mean, we have the whole Everglades here. We're surrounded by 3 bodies of water, and you look at all the money that is supposed to go to these things, and then come to find out they're not used for these things at all. As a matter of fact, they're used to harm the environment more so than help the environment. So that's just one little sector of our entire state budget. And you can do that in every committee and breakout committees. So put it out as a community task. Go write your job description. All right, one last question, and we are going to close out the meeting for the night. Pia from New York. Tia,
She's
you have to.
muted. She's muted.
Yep, Tia, you have to unmute.
Yep.
Hi.
Okay. Hi. So yeah, I've been thinking about this because since the first day I heard about this assembly, I've been the biggest mouth in New York. And you know, we've been working at warp speed, but I was actually thinking about writing a job description for myself as being the recruiter for New York and getting every county in the state set up immediately.
That's awesome. Well,
So
here's the
what-
thing. There's no wrong answer to what you're going to put down.
Right. So what I'm asking is, if I did this, I've already done it basically because I've already decided this is what I want to do. I've contacted people all over the state. I want to travel, and I'm preparing a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to be doing on Friday to a group of people because we just got our 42 days. We were, you know, very under the radar.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I know it's so exciting. And so I already have 2 speaking engagements, and I'm going to tape them so that I've written it all out. I'm going to tape it so I could share it with all of you, and maybe, you know, you can critique it or whatever. But if we were going to do that, do we have to wait for the entire state to have all their budget done, or can you just apply for this? I heard somebody say you could apply for funding, or can you just apply on your own, or how does that work?
Well, I think you're asking multiple questions that are going to have multiple answers.
Okay.
So the prelim budget, you can just do for your officers, right? And that would be for your state assembly. But you're going to fall flat. You're going to cut yourself short. If you want to make real change, this was our perspective. If you want to make real change in the state and let the people know that you're here, this is how we came up with ours. Now, it took a long time for us to do it. It took Texas a long time for them to do theirs. And truly, we could probably combine it and come up with one hell of a budget so that we surely succeed. Now, you guys probably don't need to spend that amount of time doing it. We could just turn over our work, and you can take the bits and pieces out and use it in your state as you see fit.
Okay.
These things have been thought out for months between the 2 states so that we ensure success for the people with these programs and allocations of funds appropriately back to the state. We know that this is going to take a large body of people to operate. And you're talking about a staff of over 300,000 being operated by a quarter of that. Good luck, right? So yeah. So what we do is we put in place some incentive programs, right? Like Tim said, let's open some offices in the counties and have people walk in, and yeah, we'll put you in a grant program, get your project funded. Oh, by the way, come join the assembly. Or let's reuse some of the other employees after they go through some retraining. There are a lot of things that can be done here. But, you know, that really is dependent. What you're asking about your state budget, that really just depends on what you and your assembly body agree to, period. Right? We're offering to you what we have done because we have been working on this for months. right?
Mhm.
So you can use it for yourself. We're here to give it away for you to you for free, so that you
What?
don't have to do that extensive research on your own. Should you? Yes, of course you should. Everybody should, right? So, because I guarantee you this, when you do get funding for your state assembly, you think that people are going to hold your feet to the fire and ask you, like, who elected you? And, why this and why that? Now that we've done our homework, we can say, we can pinpoint out in many sectors where these funds were misappropriated. And
Mhm.
we can roll right off our tongue very fluently how these funds and how this assembly and how this new structure is going to be a benefit to the people if they just look at it and give it a chance. We've
Yeah.
designed marketing material and a lot of incentive programs and a lot of new jobs around these things. And once we start, putting people, giving them homes and food, there's nobody there. There should be nobody living on the streets or without
That's
shelter.
right.
Oh,
That's
You
right.
praise
know,
God. Praise
Mhm.
God. That's
when
Yeah.
we start
wonderful.
doing that and we start, helping the children or helping our environment,
That's right.
helping each other and
Yeah.
incentivizing that and praising that, and
That's
instead
right.
of saying, oh, well, we can't help you because there's a restriction on it. I
Right.
think a lot of people will come to the table with us.
We're going to be the first ones to volunteer and help out and grow the assembly.
Christy, just
Absolutely,
a friendly reminder
absolutely.
of the hard stop we're coming up on.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Assembly
hate you.
so assembly coordinators, I'm sorry, but we're going to be running a few minutes late. uh,
Yeah.
that'll be fine. Most of them are here. So, but Tia, yes, you can. Some states have just turned in a budget just for their officers or just for their basics, right? That was their decision. We took a little bit more time with it because we want this to be successful in more ways than one. We don't want to cut ourselves short.
Okay. I think that answers my question. I think that like I'm ready, like I'm getting ready to go on the road. I mean, whether I get paid or not, growing the assembly, but maybe we should wait and have a budget and I'd have a lot more to offer them. But I do say to people, we're building the plane as we're flying it. We're building this. Do you want to be and finding people who are creators like
Yes.
we are?
Yeah.
So that's how we've been attracting we've gotten a lot of people interested in this. So anyway, I won't take any more time, but that's just something to think about.
Awesome. Megan, you want to wrap it up?
Sure. I just wanted to say, like, when we went through and we looked at the individual line items, if we took something away, we said, and then what? We replaced it, with something positive and what we wanted, like holistic healing and, so we didn't just strike out stuff. And we also we didn't take it, cut it, all the way. We just a little bit at a time, and but we had solutions. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. We are every time we were trying to take something away or trying to figure out, what does this person do? Is this a cardboard seat or what? we always said, so long as no resident goes without any service or any monetary funding they're currently getting, then we can completely eliminate this.
Right. Yeah.
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 All
And
right.
if you look on the website, your state website, Texas, I mean, it has a ton of information. I mean, everything from, you name it, they have it on there. Land, controllers, and just a lot of information you can gather.
Yeah. We did not have a hard time finding all of the diagrams for our state. I believe we were able to find all of them. And you can click, a lot of times you can click on the little diagram and it'll open up that whole sector. There was just so many things hidden, and we found more things that are hidden and more things. So we kept digging into it and researching. It did take a lot of work and it took a lot of people to get it done, but we've pretty much got it done. now we're going to go back and revise it one more time. We're gonna
Yeah,
add
and
some
it brought our
technical-
assembly closer. It was fun, actually. You know, we got together and did this. It was good.
Yeah, I think also when the public starts approaching you, you'll be able to tell them now, you know, this is why we're doing this. You know, it should roll fluently right off of your tongue. You know, you have no idea how this state is run. Everyone believes our governor's a great governor. I mean, he's okay. You know, we still want him to be the governor, but he's got some things to answer to coming up here shortly himself. So, you know, we just want to make sure that the funds are allocated appropriately back to the state the way that they should be, so that our state thrives and so that humanity survives and humanity thrives and our
That's right,
environment
that's
and our
right.
wildlife and everything does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Megan and Tim, give me that budget.
You got it. Okay.
We'll
yeah.
trade.
Yeah, we'll trade. Let's trade
Yeah, yeah.
papers.
Let's trade. Let's trade Excel files, and I'll work with you on doing a merge. Okay.
Absolutely, that would
Yeah.
be great.
Then we can put one thing out for everybody.
That would be awesome.
Great.
That really
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be
Yeah.
good.
All right, Stacy, you want to squeeze something in here real quick before I shut this down?
Oh, sorry. Maybe it won't be quick. Reporting on the discrepancies. Once we discover what is nasty underneath the covers, is there going to be a protocol how we're going to remedy all of these situations?
Well, that's what we're hiring auditors for, and that's going to be their job. It's not up for me to figure that out today. I couldn't do it if you asked me to.
Okay.
So we're going to hire
Okay.
people to do that.
Offline.
Mhm.
Okay.
We might do some like alligator races or something here in Florida. I don't know. Pick something fun for your state or country. A little joke there. All right, guys, we have to go to another meeting, so I will be shutting this down. So I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and to all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
Happy
Happy
Father's Day.
Father's Day,
Make sure you
fathers.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Good
everyone.
Bye,
night.
everybody.
Night.
Bye.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Night, everybody. Monica,
Good
I love you.
night.
Bye.
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 Much. Goodbye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Sure appreciate it.
Hi, Ken. You're welcome. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah, I've been here.
You're so quiet today.
Yeah, I just listened because I have other people on the call here who's supposed to be taking care of that.
All right. All right.
All right.
Okay, guys, I'm going to shut it down. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend.
You too.